All right, yogis, let's start laying on our back for just a few moments here. Okay, if you want, you can use blocks if you'd like underneath your chest. Or soles of the feet together, knees wide, and arms wide above the head. So just a few moments, we're kind of opening up the underarms, opening up the inner thighs. Starting to connect to our breath, setting the intention. Remember, yogis, you want to make sure you have a parasympathetic response, right? Before you start to exercise, especially if you have like a really busy morning. We want to kind of shift the brain state a little bit before we, if you had a stressful morning, you go right into stressful exercise. That's not good, right? We know that the stress response stimulates the amygdala, right? So it's a certain brain center. And we know that kind of feeling good and relaxing stimulate the prefrontal cortex. And that is the most exciting, the fascinating part of our brain there that, takes logic and information, applies it to our goals and critical thinking, intelligence. And we want to try to turn on the intelligent brain before we exercise. So we're not like we don't want to be like for lack of a better word, like a knucklehead or a meathead at all about it. We want to work, but we want to, be intelligent and compassionate about it all too. Okay. So we got to kind of like relax for a moment. It's a really good general rule in exercise in general. That if you're stressing in the morning and you're stressing in your exercise, it might be just stimulating a certain brain pattern. All right. So, that's already a few minutes there. Hopefully you got a little bit of relaxation. Let's slowly start by bringing our knees into our chest. I'm not going to do the basic movements. It's all regulars today. You just take a few times to kind of windshield wipe, to draw circles. Bending straight in the knees. And we're going to go straight into what's called like the posterior. It's just like a vinyasa. It's very similar, but it's a little bit more core oriented. So if we were on our chest, we might do like a plank and a cobra, but instead here, we're going to do the bridge and the closed chain crunch. So on your inhale, you lift your hips, pull the belly in, posterior tilt, so hip extension, and on the exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, you lower down. You're not like challenging your peak core. You're using this first crunch to turn your abs on. And that's why we keep the feet down to start, yogis. Inhale, I reach back. I turn the butt, the hamstrings, the lower back on. Exhale, I turn more of the abs on, the hip flexors, okay? So it's bridge, which represents kind of like a cobra, and then an exhale, it's like a crunch. It's kind of like a plank, right? It is plank, right? So inhale and exhale. And I'd like you to do a few more. We've done this many times. It's just straight. It's funny. It's just based off biomechanics, and it's also like yoga 101. It's so good when yoga agrees with science, because science is often picking at yoga, and yoga is often judging the science, the weightlifting and the exercise. But when they both do it, it's really good. All right. And you put it together so you get what's called like full range, or, contrasting antagonist actions. So every time you're like contracting something, you're also lengthening it and activating its antagonist. Whereas a lot of times in exercise, we'll get these patterns of like hitting a muscle group so much, it's like making its antagonist too weak or too stuck long. So that's a really nice exercise. It's not easy though. So, take your time. I do want to do a core twist warm up. So when you're done, you're going to roll onto your right. I know that, this is a little easy maybe, but, get into it here. Left hand on top of right, you're laying on your right. Inhale, left arm up and open. And I would say, get into it. Don't force twist, yogis, okay? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. So you're basically like on your side like this, just in case you're confused and you're just going like that. And you're trying to twist with your core, not just your arms. But the arms are involved too, because we were just moving our arms forward and back, and now we're moving our arms in the horizontal line. So we're taking care of multiple shoulder warm-ups as well. Close your eyes, deep breathing, right? When you think of core function, you think of breath. Well, every single core muscle is by definition a breathing muscle. Remember that breathing is muscular. You would not be able to breathe unless muscles contracted. You know, your blood wouldn't flow unless muscles contracted, right? Your lymph wouldn't move. Everything moves via muscle. Your eyes wouldn't move, couldn't talk. It's all about the muscles, training that body to function. Movement are the muscles. So listen, yogis, if you want to hold the twist, by all means. I don't always hold the twist in the beginning of a workout routine. On a good day, I wouldn't even stretch that much. Maybe a stretch or two to warm up. All right, now we're just going to do our second side. Ideally, the standard is like 15 reps, right? You work towards actually doing quite a few till it feels really open. So you're here, and then you're here. You're laying on your left side. Your right arm exhales to your left arm, and it inhales away. It goes up and away. It spreads the front lateral chest as you rotate. Go ahead. If there's another one, you know, there's many versions here, guys. You don't have to do this one exactly, right? We do this one. It's like the exact same thing, almost. Okay, but it's a little strenuous because there's weight on my core. Something to get the twisting of the spine and the arms spread. I don't mind if you switch it up, as long as you're kind of waking this body action up. I told you, I read the world famous biomechanist article, and it said you should basically dynamically rotate your spinal column every day. And he was just like talking about it like it's common sense. If your spine is designed to rotate, you know, every day you don't do it, it kind of fascially hardens and gets restricted. And then you bend over in the kitchen and twist, and then you get what's called like a fixation. You get like this micro stuck rotational quality, and it's like, you know, that is like the recipe for like chronic back pain. And then the chiropractor has to try to release it. Then the muscles and fascia are all formed like that. So it's the movement that's going to keep it all free. Okay, not to stretch necessarily. All right, get out of there, guys. Now we want to move the legs again. So we did rotation and core, but I really have to like keep my back down. I like to curl my chest. I don't do this one as much where my arms and hands are down. I know it's popular though. The lower back presses down, okay? Arms press down. If you want to go a little bit more, you're here. It's just, we want to start moving the legs a little bit more. There's been no movement in the legs. So here, I'm bending and straightening the feet. I'm pointing and flexing the toes. If I want a little bit more, my legs could go straight. It might feel good to bend though. If I want even more, I could kind of, you know, the goal is to move the legs. The first thing, yeah, you know, there was some, you know, turn on your butt a little bit, but I want the legs to move a lot. So if you want to go crazy, you can add things, you know, but you know, it's still in warm-up mode. So it's always good to be a little bit more linear and easy in warm-up. That's it, Brian. Yeah, and you know, you can go a lot slower here. You don't have to go fast. And then these are called leg swings, yogis. They're like basic fitness. And you know, we do a lot of stuff like this in yoga as well. So now I want to get a long contraction of the posterior core, which is that bridge. We go basically right back through it. That kind of represented a crunch, and now we go back for the bridge. If you want to go big, you could do like an angled bridge if you're ready. We already opened up that a little bit. You could do a one-legged bridge, but I'll give easy options. Arms down, feet down. Here we go. Static, which means still. This time, maybe walking your hands under your body, kind of, you know, rolling your shoulders under. Some nice little subtle additions here could be lifting your heels, getting into the toes. Stretching out the front of the ankle. You know, I often talk about like longevity and walking and balance. It's so underutilized, the calf raise and the shin raise. Push your heel down now and lift the ball, the mound, the pad of the foot. So now the only thing is the heels are down. That's called, I call it like shin raise. That's not a technical term, but the top of the foot comes to the shin. That might be the top exercise for longevity of locomotion, walking, because you have to like stop yourself forward with your shin muscles, right? Yeah. This, like, boom, being able to like stop yourself from propelling forward is like the key to not falling. And that's shin, that's not calf, okay? All right, there's your bridge hold. Let's keep going, yogis. Now we're gonna put some things together. The twist, the crunch, the leg swing, all of it, okay? And the arm movement. So we haven't done this one in a while. It is one of my favorites. Well, it's a love-hate relationship on this one. Right arm goes back, left leg, exhale, right hand toward left leg. And now we repeat, so we're not alternating legs. So you can see the progression. I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling. Yogis, if it's too much, look at this one. Right hand behind the head, left knee, you twist here. If that's too much, this is more of a beginner approach. But you want to keep the tension, you're repeating sides, okay? So easier is here, more challenging is here. Keep the tension, yogis. Don't like put the body down. I'm telling you not to go like the fullest range. I'm telling you to go about all the way contract and about 80%, 90% on the way down. That's it. Don't go all the way down. The standard is about 15. It's, you know, the therapeutic is always like a little bit less reps, or, you know, an easier exercise. So the athletic or the strength developing is just more reps and more challenge. All right. So go ahead, second side, left hand toward right, kind of ankle. Go slow, yogis. You don't got to go crazy here. You know, you can take your opposite hand behind your head too if you're doing the huge, the lengthened one. The opposite hand can be behind the head. I think the left hand here. You know, you got to learn to support your neck, yogis. You know, I was teaching the yoga yesterday, and I had like 20-something people in my class, and, you know, it's amazing how many, I'll like say stuff very clearly multiple times, and people have very little body awareness. So, you know, I'll say squat, and people will just keep hinging, and I will literally demonstrate it 4 times. And, you know, taking care of the body is the first priority. You know, we know that exercise, strong exercise, has so many oxidative qualities, free radical damage. You do create a lot of cellular damage and inflammation in intense exercise. I've mentioned the exercise paradox, but over time, it's going to make your body produce less free radicals, actually. So that's the paradox. Okay. And the thing is, to be kind to your body, is my point, is to reduce that. So I always say squat, and people always do this. They hinge, and then they wonder why the back hurts from yoga or from exercise. It's because they're not distinguishing, you know, what we're trying to do in the body. All right, get out of there. Take a moment. I want to do a little stretch now, just a quick one, not too long. Rotational hips. We haven't really gone there yet. Right ankle to top left knee. It's only about 3 breaths. It's 2 parts. So that's that little piriformis. It's supposed to stretch out the bridge activation. We're not done on our back yet. We still have to do lateral line. So that's going to be glute and piriformis stretch. Just a quick figure for right hip. Now, left hip, left foot down, right ankle on left knee, and knees not right. So it's not the spinal twist, it's the medial or internal rotation of your left hip. First stretch was for right hip, second part was for left hip. I like to stretch my arms back a little bit. Yeah, so you work hard, but then you slow down, okay?
All right, and then you do your second side. So it's just short stretching here, guys. Not like, you know, how much can we release muscles? It's just like lengthen the muscles briefly. So it's left ankle to top right knee, thread the needle, close your eyes. After I get you into sympathetic too much, stress, I gotta back you up. So we're not in the amygdala too much. I'm reading a behavioral psychology and neuroscience book called Behave, right? The book's called Behave. I'm in chapter 2, and it's my third time reading chapter 2 because it's so complicated. And they're all talking about that every time you have a stress response, your center amygdala grows. You're like reinforcing the stress vein to be dominant in your brain patterns more. So she's talking about things like gratitude and like every time you're in like gratitude, it signals activation in the prefrontal cortex, which is let's call it the human brain. And you know, we want to remember to like make sure we're feeling good and we're happy and, you know, be grateful here. That's going to fire the intelligent brain, just to be grateful. Okay. Second part, make sure you do it here, is the right knee turns in. So you take your figure 4, your right foot goes down, your left foot goes on your other knee, and then you. So, you know, I'm having you relax to make sure we're not in the amygdala too much. The oldest part of our brain that he said that the bugs have. He said the bugs have the center amygdala. We don't want to use our bug brain. All right, so we're gonna go in, you know, that's stretched out like the outer hip and glute, and then here, like here, you know. I want you to do a full body stretch quick. So one last little thing here before we do our lateral line. The arms go back, and you stretch a little bit like this on your back. You know, you could even do things like, you know, where you cross ankles, and I just want you to like lengthen on your back and stretch out your core. The sides, particularly the underarms and the ribs, the obliques, because we're about to hit your obliques. So you're kind of like on your back, side stretching. Last moment there. So listen, yogis, this is a very simple technique. If it's too much, there's 2 parts. I want the hips and the legs to be first. If you can add the core, you add the core. We're gonna roll onto a side. Top elbow behind the head, bottom knee bends, bottom arm forward. Now, if you're new to it and you're just gonna do this, it's not a big lift, it's an isolated action. We just stretched out the glute medius, which is your main hip stabilizer. Now we're going right for the tension, the traction, the tension, the compression of that glute medius and its lateral movement. If you want more, we add the abs with it, okay? So this makes the line longer. As I contract glute medius, I contract obliques. Watch, I do not go forward with my leg. If your leg can go up here, you're not doing what we're trying to do here. It's the right leg lifting lateral. That's as high as I can lift my leg slowly. Ooh, right out in this outer hip. You know, the standard, guys, is, you know, like I said, there's no weight. So, you know, the standard reps is much higher. You know, for the average person, like I said, I try to work towards 15, towards you get like this deep burn where it's like right into that sympathetic nervous system. It signals this idea of like, oh my God, this kind of is hurting and it's uncomfortable. You want to hit that in every exercise almost, unless we're in therapeutic gentle yoga. Our objective is different neurally. You know, there's days where you like, your intention is to stimulate the emotions of the body via the exercise. So go ahead, second side. It's just side to side. All right. No, nothing fancy in between. Some of you are adding things. That's cool. Listen to your body. You literally, now what you see here a lot, guys, is this. People are like, they don't realize that they're kind of bent over. You're like this. Your bottom arm is here. Your bottom leg is here.
and the left leg, or here, yes, the left leg is moving like that, it's laterally. And if you are doing it, it's a lateral movement, so there's no forward movement. And then, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I study and teach exercise all day, so it tends to be, easier for me because it's my daily routine to do this stuff, and I get very objective views of it all. I get to watch you guys doing it, so I see things. It's not easy. You don't have to judge yourself, All right, yogis, so that's our glute medius. I want to do the glute maximus one more time here, which is single leg bridge. If you want to do sliding bridge and add your hammies, wonderful. 2 types of single leg bridge. You could do this one. I'll keep going. You catch up when you're ready. Left foot, left heel underneath left knee. This is called like single leg bridge, and you're going to get the hamstring. This is going to fire your hamstring 1,000 times more than regular bridge. Now, you could do the hip thrust, so it looks more like this. You got to really strategically place that left foot, in the middle a little bit more. And then you lower down slow, you pause at the top. Sorry. My little pup, she loves to go perfectly in front of me so no one can see. So it's this hip thrust on one leg. Yogis, we stretched out the glutes. We stimulated them in non-weight bearing flexion extension. We held it static. We did it in hyper range, hyper shortening. You're ready for a single leg bridge. You really don't even have to be warmed up for that one. So you're going to do 1 round on each leg. That's it. Okay? Go ahead. Make it a meditative practice. So we did one round. Yogis, I find that people have like these chronic weaknesses in their core and the back pain and the bad posture because they lack strong hyper hip extension and posterior tilt compound. This is a really good way to start that. It's not my favorite exercise for it, but it is, very doable. So when you're done there, let's take a little happy baby. Let's take a little plow if you're up for it. Plow is where you swing your legs up over your body. That usually is a little bit more of like an intermediate yoga approach. It is weight bearing in like a hyper spinal and neck range. It's called halasana. Legs swing up over the body. It's one of the biggest stretches in the body. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit more core coming up soon. But for now, I do want to switch gears a little bit, loosen up the waist and the hips. Do a little bit more upright, get a little bit of weight bearing on your arms. We got to make sure we do a little bit of that. When you're done on your back, take a few moments. Let's rock forward and back. You massage out the back a little bit. You make your way up to seated. Nice and simple here. In fitness, they call this like quadruped, right? You're on all fours. In yoga, tabletop. On the inhale, arch. On the exhale, round. Cat-cow. I want you to loosen up your core. Take off all the weight and move it freely. A healthy core is not just tight, not strong. It's movable too. Your lumbar should almost be like one of the most mobile places in your body, but that's what makes it very, susceptible to injury. So you're cat-cowing, you're flowing, you're moving, you're breathing. Move that body, yogis. Whenever you're ready, dance your way back into down dog.
No rush. There's no perfect timing. Sometimes you need 100 rounds of cat-cow. Some days you don't need any. So next position is down dog, and this is called the first frontal inversion. I mentioned the prefrontal cortex, the most, let's say, interesting part of the brain, the one that's the most newly formed, and that, as far as what humanity needs, it's more brain flow up here. It's like all the higher reasoning comes from here. It's like critical thinking and processing of information, and then applying that to things like problem solving and your goals. It all comes from here. All right, now try to let your head hang low and breathe very deep in and out the nose. Try to just hold position. We're trying to weight bear on your arms now. As you get really good at this, you'll be able to shift so much weight back that you won't feel as much in your arms. But I know, first 10, 20 years, this is very, very tough still, okay? Last few breaths, try to press the inner hand down. So we don't want things like your wrist or lack of body awareness to not allow us to get blood flow into the brain here. So you got to press the thumb and the index finger down. Leaning on the outer wrist here is going to strain the shoulders a lot more because there's not an active pronation. And then the rotational quality of the shoulder is called torque strength, is lateral, or external. The upper outer arm rolls the tricep rolls down and under. Okay, so last few breaths. Yeah, it's tough, yogis. It's okay to rest. Just come back and join. Child pose is the easy option. That is a frontal inversion as well. Remember, think of what you're grateful for. You want to ignite that prefrontal cortex too, as you're getting all that blood and oxygen there. The guy said last night in Behavior, the subtitle of the book is Humans at Their Best and at Their Worst. And he's like, every time you're like in stress, you make yourself less intelligent. It's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. All right, get out of there, guys. Drop down to your knees. Take a moment here. So this next posture is still weight bearing on your arms. Like, you want to hit the plank. If there's a variation you want to do, I'll give your wrist a little break because we are going to do wrist a little bit more here. So if you want to do high plank, you can. Down your forearms, feet walk back. Now I am going to add a little bit of movement. It's a lateral hip movement. If you want to hold here, that's fine. The upper body stays sturdy. Breathe. What I do is I step my left foot wide, my right foot wide, and then I step my left foot back in and my right foot back in. So we're adding a subtle movement here into your forearm plank. All right, so, in some fitness classes, they actually have you jump. So it's that same thing, legs wide, legs together, legs wide, legs together. You're more than welcome to do that. Some yogis, I don't get it. They're like, that's not yoga, but you can hold plank, you can't laterally step. No, judgment's not yoga, actually, right? But it's really good, yogis, to challenge the neuromuscular, like the neuroplasticity of the brain, like move in new ways. So challenge your thought process and the brain's connection to your muscles. Try something new. So you're stepping the right foot wide and the left foot wide, your legs are almost off your mat, and then you step them back in. Got about 30, 40 more seconds. And if you want to hold regular plank, you want to do some push-ups instead, those are all in the same realm. And if it's all too much, I get it. It's a tough class right now. This is a class where we push ourselves in my scheduling of Zoom, okay? All right, yogis, now you're going to take it down to the chest. And we did this Thursday, I believe Saturday as well. What we're going to do is now turn on our lower back. Even when you do bridge, I say turn on your lower back there, but it doesn't hit it that well.
I gotta drive the pubic bone down, point the toes, engage the thighs, so you see my legs activate. I'm gonna lift my heart. I'm gonna reach forward with my arm. Now, if this is too much, just stay here. And you can do this like little pump of the arms up and back. So your arms are going back and up. See that? I'm holding my heart off the floor. But if you feel up for it, inhale, legs forward, arms forward, lift the arms. Exhale, legs, arms back, lift the arms up and back. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. In the good old days, I'd have you hold a strap here between your hands. So you'd have some form of tension activation. Let's see if I can find my strap. I'll demo quick. Yogis, this exercise is fantastic. So you got to remember this one because it's lower back, it's posterior tilt, it's connecting posterior tilt muscles to lower back arch to upper back and arm. So like I said, I have to use a strap here. So that's it. That's it with a strap. It's a little different. You will get the outer or posterior shoulder a little bit more. It will be a little bit more kind of restricted too. So you have to, sometimes when you don't restrict stuff, you don't have the closed chain, you can like move too freely. It's good to have some closed chain, you know, your body's stuck via the floor or contraption or prop, and then you can have to feel where you're like over tense and also have to, in contraction, soft in places, okay? Lower down, please, take a little breather. And then we are gonna do, now today it's locust. So our arms were here and then they were here. That's a row. It's like representing kind of like a pull down if you know your kinesiology. Now this is what's called the horizontal bilateral abduction. The arms go wide. It is a pull. So it is back. We are gonna move up and down. We will pause at the top. Don't overstrain. Move at your pace. Point your toes, pull your belly in, lift your heart, lift your arms, lift your legs. Pause. Lower down about 80–90%. Don't drop down. Inhale. And exhale. Please continue. You know, after this, we are gonna do one thing on the arms and the wrists, but work that back body, okay? Go hard here. After this, there's not gonna be many hyperextensions. Work hard isn't really the best. Work intensely or work smart too. You know, there's some days, just because I say this is a great exercise and it's good for you, doesn't mean that it's good for you at the moment. There's a lot of like, you know, responsibility put on the individual here. You know, you have it's a tough one because some days your back hurts, activating it and strengthening it will actually help the pain reduce. But it depends on why it's irritated. Some days this might irritate it more. You know, there's so much like context of like, is this good for you today? Yeah, it's one of the best exercises, but you didn't sleep well, energy tanks running on low. You know, spinal herniation, probably not good, right? So when you're done there, those are just the 2 rounds. We're only gonna do 2. You know, you start to get to 3-4 rounds, you're into that, you know, much more likely to irritate stuff, right? Each round you're gonna kind of inflame more and make more sore. So when you're done there, you're just gonna press back to child pose. Unless you want a cobra or an up dog, this would be the opportunity. I'm not exaggerating. I did yoga for 4.5 years in Hawaii is where I was. There was this vinyasa style that's popular in LA was not big at all. And I never did one up dog in 4.5 years. I was practicing like 5-6 days a week. I never did up dog once. We did cobra, but never up dog. I never did down dog once either. Never did down dog. And it's a very fundamental posture in the type of yoga we do now. So listen here, guys, take a moment, sit on your heels. I do want to do a side plank. So we did a lateral stretch. We did a lateral action, abduction, lateral flex. Now it's called anti-lateral. I'm gonna go full side plank if you have it in you today. If you don't, I'd rather have you do half side plank. I'd rather have you do this than this today, because we kind of already did this. You know, the lateral leg lift. What's gonna happen is that your body wants to go down, but you're not letting it. That's why I said it's anti-lateral, because your body wants to move laterally, but you're not letting it, okay? So here it is, or full side plank. If you wanna go bigger here, you could do, you know, I would suggest leg movement. So keep it anti, and you could go here, or you could kind of like step back, forward. So it's good to kind of go new planes of movement here. There's also this one here. It's still anti-lateral. So there's a few options. I don't care what type of side plank you do, as long as you're in the side anti-flexion. It's only one round. We're not doing more rounds.
You know, I'm all about like the regular repetitive memory of the body. So like say you're trying to get strong at push-ups 3 times a day, morning, evening, afternoon, night's a good way to say it. You drop down, you do a little set of push-ups. That's the way to get better. It's not like do 1,000 in one day. You don't have to be warmed up either. You drop down, you do a couple push-ups in the morning. Oh, maybe late morning you do another round, and then early afternoon, and then night. That's how you're actually gonna get good at it, okay? Go ahead, second side. Some of you are still going, most of you look done there. So it's one good hold. One really good hold. We just came from like the back. We did a little relaxation, child pose, and now boom, it's into like a really demanding posture. Side plank, one round, go ahead, about 1 minute if you can. Go big here, guys. Side plank is fantastic. It's full body. It is known in the fitness world for making people very sore. I used to study under this one yoga teacher, Rodney Yee, one of my like favorite yogis of all time. A mix of spirituality and science, discipline and creativity, kind of how I instruct. And from a young age in yoga, he really changed how I was originally taught about yoga. You know, he opened my mind. And he always talks about side plank, like, warning, this thing will make you really, really strong, but it can cause injury very easy. He's an anatomist. So he, you know, the posterior shoulder, okay, the trap, the neck, there's all this potential for injury, but it will make you, it's how it is. It's like the more risk, the more reward. All right, guys, so symmetry. The stretch you've been waiting for, down dog, walk your feet to the front of your mat. Inhale, get a little half lift. You want the spinal length, and then take a little breather. It might be good to get that shoulder stretch here, arms up and over. So what do? We switch planes of movement. We go back to symmetry after asymmetry. We lengthen after we would, you know, in a short contraction, and it's all the contrasting energies and forms. So we are going to do a few standing things, not too much today. We're going to stand up, bend the knees. When you're done, you don't have to rush there, guys. All right, let's stand up. When you're ready, give it a little bit of this. So that'd be the twist. It's been a little while since we twist. We're going to do that here, though, once we hit your legs. I want to start with just a little bit of squatting. I told you I squat every day. All right, feet go wide, open up. If you want to do the arm circle one, that's fine, or the inhale, push the pull. So I immediately notice, whoa, my right knee's bothering me a little bit. Foam roll. I'm going to foam roll later. That's the insight. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Oh, you're feeling good?
add a little bit of a jump today, but land really smooth. You don't land with straight legs, little hop, but yogis, you gotta land smooth. And as you land, it's like your knees bend, it like shocks and slows you down. You see how you watch? You know how I jump? I don't like jump, land, and then go. I go right into it. I'm like smooth. And that, didn't feel too good on my knee because it bothered me. So if you're in the same boat as me, even though I can jump squat, I do it all the time, I might not today. Gotta do therapeutics on those knees maybe and do a little bit of non-weight bearing bending. Last few squats, please. You're having the best day of your life squatting. You might try a one-legged, sitting on a kitchen chair coming up. But that is not beginner, yogis. That's usually considered the toughest squat there is, one-legged, okay? So I want to do, what does it come down to? What does the legs come down to? Squats, lunges, hinges, and a twist. People don't like to do lunges, but it's so important. I'm going to use it as a stretch more today, all right? I am going to do the coil, which means twist. As my left foot goes back, my left arm goes forward up, and I twist a little bit. So in yoga, we do this revolve, warrior, reversed. Back, center, symmetrical, engage. Right foot back, right arm swoops up over to the left and back. And then I'm coming back. We're not going to do a lot of lunges. We kind of did lunges in different ways on our back today. So as my right foot goes back, my right arm goes forward, up, and across. I step back, neutral symmetry. Left arm back, left arm forward and up and across, left leg back. That's it. Last few, it's moving, please. We haven't been moving a lot. It was side plank. It was the locusts. Before that was the moving plank. But that still wasn't a lot of free movement. I want to get you moving now again, yogis. That's a thing I really try to make a huge part of class. You notice the contrasting, are we still a lot? Are we stuck? Let's get moving again. Oh, we've been moving too much? Let's slow down. Let's be still. What's that saying? Movement is medicine. That's true, but too much medicine makes you sick. Something that's good becomes bad when you overdo it. Okay? Same with movement. Too much movement, not good. You get to gotta slow down. All right, so now let's do it. We're gonna go. Remember I said rotation is one of the qualities of the leg? Here we are. Goddess. We're gonna rotate the spine and we're gonna hold these legs now still. We did squats, we did lunges. Now we're gonna hold goddess throwing. You guys know this one? I learned it from a physical therapist. It's fantastic. Palms here. You have a block, you don't hold the block, you squeeze it. You go down to the right a little bit, you go up to the left a little bit. Don't play the yoga game of, oh, I can't go that far in range and force it so you look like you're going deeper. Don't do that one. Okay, that's it. Down to the right, up to the left. It's similar to the coil, okay? Let me see. Nice, Brian. Bend those knees, though. Yeah. So you hold a type of squat, and there is a subtle hinge. You guys get the difference in the hinge, right? This is a squat. This is a hinge. Those are the fundamental movements of the legs, the core together. Obviously lateral would be the fifth. Lateral movement would be the fifth fundamental, but I'm not even going to include it on that list right now. And remember, yogis, twisting upright, if the knees start to buckle, that's how you hurt your knee. If you're going to start to move these knees, you got to start to pivot. We did that last week, remember this stuff? It's a play on that. Okay, shake it out a little bit. Second side, please. It is 2 rounds of holding a static squat. This is our chair pose today. Go ahead, get it up. times I like to do resisted here now. So I'll add a little yoga band. I'll have it, like, you know, it's not easy. You got to attach it low, and you take the band here and you pull it up, and then you resist it back down. So the resistance is going up, okay? Nice, Brian. It's kind of like, you know, you hear like the people doing like the wood choppers in fitness. It's like down and across. Okay, represents that action. Picking something up, kind of throwing it over your shoulder. They do that too, right? So second, oh yeah, you already did your second side. It's only one round, yogis, all right? So we got 2 more things to do standing, and this next one takes care of hinge and lateral. So when you're done there, shake it out. You might want to touch your toes and stretch and stuff. The feet are going to stay wide. I'll demo. It's not triangle hold. It is triangle movement. Remember I said hinge. This isn't usually understood as a hinge, but it is. It's definitely not a squat, right? It's not really a lunge either. So what is it? It's a hinge. It is a tilt. It's the biggest lateral tilt of class. Even though we're good in our lateral chain, this is our last lateral exercise. Engage your legs. Drop your right hip down. Oh, don't play the game of how far can I go. You can bend your right knee. And then you come back up. It's really 3 parts. It's a dropping of the right hip down, engaging those legs. It's a kind of lengthening out over the leg, and then it's the lateral hinge. You're going to feel this work. Here, inhale, exhale. Look at the front, look at the side angle. Am I moving forward? The answer should be no. Might be like a 1/4 inch of moving forward just to reduce restriction and pinching, but it's a lateral movement, yogis, okay? You know, sometimes you see in fitness, people have a kettlebell like this, and they'll go like small range, they'll go like that. It's kind of similar. And vinyasa will move down into triangle and back right up. And hatha asana will hold triangle posture. Now you're working all that space in between. Last few. This is a very challenging exercise. Don't take it lightly. It's a tough one, yogis. I consider this intermediate exercise for sure. So let's come up and go ahead. This is another one I pretty much do, you know, almost regularly, especially if I'm doing a challenging practice for myself. This wakes up things that nothing else does that I know of, really. I just have my hands here, trying to keep my belly in and noticing if I'm turning down. So, okay, last few, and my knees are bothering me a little bit. I don't know what I did, but there's something going on in both my knees, actually. They're kind of irritated through here. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna foam roll here, that big muscle that comes right above the knee. I'm gonna foam roll my calf and my shin today, because I gotta try to release that, something going on there, a little irritated. So get it done here, yogis. We got one more standing exercise. It's basically warrior 3 hold. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be the second round of static hinge, because we did a couple squats. This kind of mimics a lunge, but it is more of the hinge. So I'll keep demoing. Final standing posture is it's the progression. Like we work on going here, right? And then eventually you work on going here. Then we do add on from there, but this is the basics. So feet hips width distance. I say hands here to start. Oh, you're feeling good. You could go hands here, add a little shoulder stretch. Going here is the big one. So we're gonna hinge. One leg lifts parallel to the spine, and you just hold. Still as possible. Anti-movement, please. Breathe. Don't forget, hinge all starts with the bent knee. Standing bent knee, yogis. Do I hinge with straight knees? Yes, I do all the time. But would I recommend that to a big group? Probably not. If the safest place to do it is 2 legs, no weight,
as soon as you add leg weight there, you know, it's and one-legged, you're asking to possibly, if you're not engaging the leg well, you got to make sure that's the priority. If you do want to work towards a straight leg, you got to really engage the muscles around the knee, the thigh. So we're trying to, it's like a plank. You're trying to go for a 1 minute hold about. Nice. Some of you are going for like a standing splits. That's cool. Even a handstand. That's, hey, by all means, right? I don't really teach that many kind of like yoga inversions in this class. So second side, last standing posture. You're going to get a little yogi squat after this, and then we're going to do like a little Lolasana. So I saved a little energy for your wrists. Okay, so one more round. Go ahead. Second side. This one is work, yogis. This one takes a lot of like will, mental strength. Such a good exercise, Warrior 3. And, you know, they do that in fitness too, right? The RDL, they call it. It's like a Romanian deadlift. Deadlift is like one of the most fundamental exercises. They call it deadlift because you just pick up dead weight and then you put it back down, right? And that's the Romanian. It's where you hinge in it, because when you know the standard deadlift is more like a squat. That tends to be, and then that one's more like the hinge. So those two are really awesome. To do regularly. Okay. All right, yogis, let's come to the front of the mat. I mentioned squatting. We did some dynamic squats. We did some static strength in the squat. Let's do a stretch squat. No rush. When you're done, you bend both knees and you keep your chest tall. That was a hinge on one leg, straight leg, asymmetry. This is a bent knee, squat, and symmetry. It's different, okay? Feel a little breather there. So our final strong exercise of class, you got a couple options. We're going to drop it to the butt. It's called Lolasana. You know, there's a lot of mixed opinions about this one. Will it make your core freaky strong? Yes. But it's super difficult, and you want to be careful because it can cause a lot of tension around the shoulders and the spine. Like I said, you know, often reward is right next to risk. Okay, so you just got to be smart about it and listen to your body. Elbows hug in, press straight down, lift your butt. And then you want to pull your butt back. You want to try to lift one foot or maybe both feet. And you want to try to hold here. You want to breathe. If it's easy, legs go straight and everything is hovering. Okay? This one's going to be really tough. You're most likely not going to be able to hold very long. Just release slowly. All right? And you take a breather. Now, if that's too much, yogis, unfortunately, there's not many substitutes there. You know, you could do like just a sit up instead, where you do this one. It's like low boat to high boat. It's about as classic as yoga core gets. It's a sit up. You go down as slow as possible, lower back down, shoulders top, and then back up. If that's all too much, you could lay on your back, lower back down, legs swing, hips lift. Okay, so there's three options. Lolasana practice. I guess you could combine the first two options. Low boat, high boat, Lolasana. Low boat, high boat, Lolasana, if you want to go crazy. This is your last ab exercise of class. Ideally, it's like a full compound, which means like it's like all part of your front body. You know, Lolasana is going to get everything. It's weight bearing in arms. It's tension, strength, and legs and core. And, you know, there's a saying in like athletic fitness. It's like, if you get good at L-sit, it makes all other ab exercises easy. And I totally get that. You know, doing something like a crunch is easy compared to just holding up in Lolasana. And that's like just be the law of relativity, right? It's like, it's all relative. You know, you work on something that's really stronger, it makes previous things seem easier. You go on the black diamond skiing, the blue square is easy from now on. And it used to be hard until you tried something harder. So, you know, you got to remember that you do a one arm plank, two arm plank seems easier. You do a one arm dog, two arm dog, you know, it's a good way to change your yoga practice. Make your brain stress less in certain forms. On a good day, you test it. Okay, so that's our final ab exercise. I'd like to do a little bit more, but guys, we got about 4 minutes left in class. I probably should get you to unwind a little bit. So listen, when you're done there, we're gonna be back at table. We did gracilis stretch. We don't need to do hamstrings really much. You know, you wouldn't think that Warrior 3 is a hamstring stretch, but it is. Knees go together. You're gonna try to sit between your heels. So we're gonna bend the knees deep. We did a good amount of the front body tensions today. So probably good to stretch the front body. Didn't do cobras, didn't do camels. Good idea to probably get a good front body stretching. I mentioned things that could be, you could do a bow, you could do a camel, you could do a restorative bridge, you could do a cobra. Those are all kind of work here if one's calling to you. Let's take a good another 30, 40 seconds, breathing. I'm gonna teach this and then pigeon. So we're gonna get the lateral rotation again, but I'm gonna use the upright pigeon to hit the psoas major. I'm not gonna do the resting pigeon because we already did figure 4. If there's other stretches calling to you, that's okay. I don't mind if you switch it up, all right? All right, pigeon. I'm gonna do the upright pigeon. Some people call it power pigeon, but it's just more of the original pigeon. Right shin goes forward, left foot walks back, hands walk back. I'm using my hands on my blocks so I can lift better. My right hip goes back and down, my outer right shin and foot press down, my left heel reaches back, and my core lengthens forward and up, so I feel a stretch in my front left hip, okay? Shoulders back and down, heart lifts. Couple breaths there, please. If there's another stretch that's calling to you, that's fine. This is big stuff, yogis. So, you know, yoga core is a very athletic yoga class. If you were to say to a bhakti yogi, can we do core yoga? They say, what do you mean? Work on your heart chakra? Okay. They wouldn't think abs really, right? All right, so when you're done there, do your second side. I'm gonna teach this, a nice releasing twist, and then a little touch of your toes, and then we'll just close it up with a short meditation. So you're doing your second side pigeon, you're walking that right foot back on this side. That energy is going back and down as the chest is going forward and up. So that leg and hips go kind of the opposite action, back and down a little bit more as the chest goes forward and up, and that creates the stretch through the right hip flexor. Just breathe, yogis. So, you know, we did a nice little front body stretch, and, you know, this is kind of hitting everything, right? Lateral body and hip flexor. Because the thing with Virasana, you're still in anterior tilt and flexion, so it's not going to get the psoas. So some people would be like, wow, we just did a front body. Why would you do pigeon or front body? Well, it's because, you know, your hips are still flexed, and we have to, Virasana doesn't get your psoas that well, really, right? It gets your quads and your abs and your shins really well. So if we combine it with a hip flexor stretch, man, that's really, the full package there. So I'd say a twist, if you want to sit and just kind of cross an arm outside. So a seated twist. If you want to lay on your back and twist, we did something like that in the beginning. Just some twist here to close up practice to kind of release the rotational body. So, just something like this is good. Just try to lift the heart, gaze over the back shoulder. Let's get our neck involved here. And you don't want to hold twist too long there, second side. And then after you do a big twist, what's nice is pigeon goes really well with that one. You might want to just kind of touch your toes. If you want to do happy baby or lay on your back, that's fine. It's just kind of one little neutralizer after the big 3 stretches. And then let's take a closing meditation. Nice, Stephen, stay with that. No headstands and stuff today. So please throw that stuff in, guys. I do headstands a lot. So our final objective is, remember, it's to calm the body from all the strain and challenge. The nerves get overstimulated and the heart rate is up. So we want to, practice sending a message to calm down to the mind and body. So by stilling the body, we might encourage the mind to slow down. So you find a comfortable position whenever you get there, no rush. And you just be. That's what the yogis say. You don't do much, you just be. There's no breathing, there's no thinking, there's no exercising, no stretching. You just kind of sit in a trance. Let it all come to ease and stillness.